This is London calling, and welcome to another video. I thought today I might talk a little bit about some TV shows, some television series that I really like. I have an interesting relationship with television. I used to be very much well known amongst my friends as being someone who was very good at giving recommendations for television. Particularly when I was a teenager, I would watch a lot of television dramas, a lot of television comedies, particularly those based on the British, produced or aired on the British channels and services, such as the BBC, which I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of, but others as well, Channel 4, ITV, and I watched a lot, and so I was able to give good recommendations to people because I'd watched everything that was on offer, or most things that were on offer, and I could recommend to people what I thought was really good. And I received a lot of compliments from people saying that they really respected my recommendations. But this was back in a time sort of before Netflix became massive, and definitely before the current world that we have, where there are so many different streaming platforms. And actually I never had Netflix before, and so I was sort of limited in my options as to what I could watch things on. And in some ways limitations are good, because it meant that there were only so many things I could watch. It was harder to get overwhelmed by the number of things available. But also, I was younger, as a teenager, I had more time on my hands. As a late teenager to watch things. And in fact, I've never had my own Netflix account, or Disney Plus account, or Amazon Prime account, or HBO Max account, or Apple TV, or Now TV, or Hulu, or whatever other services are available now. I do have access to Netflix, but that's through a friend's account that they let me borrow. So I've never paid for Netflix myself. But I have watched Netflix shows, and I've watched some Now TV shows and Disney Plus shows. At the moment I'm watching The Last of Us, which is very, very good. And I've played the video games, so I'm quite familiar with the material. There's some really, really emotional episodes in there. But I've not watched the recent episode, so please no spoilers in the comments. But yeah, I thought, as time's moved on, I've got less, I have less context for all the things that are going on. I do watch a lot of things still, but a lot less than I used to, and there's a lot of things I don't watch, and there's a lot of the TV shows that most people watch that I don't watch. I don't watch a lot of the big blockbuster shows, that have series after series after series. I do watch some of them, for instance, I watch Stranger Things. But yeah, I don't watch a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I think I've watched a lot of stuff that lots of people haven't watched, that I think is very good, and just maybe it's gone under the radar, but also maybe that is more well known in Britain, maybe, that other people in other parts of the world might not know about. So I sort of just made a quick list of 5 TV shows that I really, really, really like. There are obviously way more. I wouldn't say these are my top 5 necessarily, but they're definitely in my my best of list. They'll be in a list of TV shows that I'll remember, So I thought we could talk about them. Okay, so I've written a list of 5 here. And the first TV show, I'm going to get a picture up here on my iPad to show you the sort of artwork, is a series. Gosh. Just when you want something to work, it doesn't want to work, does it? Come on, iPad. I don't know what's going on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is a TV adaptation of the novel War and Peace. And this is what the poster looks like. This came out in 2016. And it was made and aired on the BBC. I'm sure you can find it in other places now, such as Amazon On Demand or Prime or whatever. But yeah, it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I don't quite know how to describe it. It's I've not read the book. I've not read the novel. It's a very big, very long novel. And so I'm sure that in many ways it doesn't do the novel justice, as adaptations often struggle to do. Particularly because it was in 6 parts. I think they were long episodes. I think some of them were like an hour and a half, maybe. And it came out in 2016, so 9 years ago now. But it was fantastic, and it was one of these series that we're now seeing more and more of, with things like Stranger Things, for instance, where TV shows are becoming more and more cinematic. And this was one of the first things I saw that was so cinematic. Its use of cinematography, the lighting, the shots that there were of nature and cities and war, and the music was epic and emotional and soaring. And that is often quite rare in television drama. Particularly in 2016, it's becoming more and more of a thing now, that in sort of there's blurred lines between the budgets and the scope and the sort of scale of TV and film. But back then, it was a smaller thing, but beautifully done. And the cast, wow, some fantastic names. I actually wrote down some of the cast down on this my notepad, just to give you a sense of who we're talking about. So it had Paul Dano in it. It had Lily James, James Norton, Jessie Buckley, Jack Lawden, Tom Burke, who's a fantastic actor, Gillian Anderson, Jim Broadbent, Stephen Rea, Callum Turner, Brian Cox, which some of you may know from Succession, Ken Stott. A fantastic cast. And the emotions of the piece and it's just a lot. It's a great story, and I felt it was really well done, and it's something of real scope, of real scale. There's a lot goes on in that story, and so it's really, really beautiful. Because it feels more like a film that's has 6 episodes to really explore, rather than sort of like a TV series where it's sort of exploring the sort of a thing that's being sort of eked out across a series. It's the opposite thing. It's sort of like a massive thing that you're trying to condense. But yeah, let me see. I think there was another picture on my iPad this is a picture of some of the cast. Sort of like panorama. You've got lots of people there. Yeah. Oh, it was so good. So good. I really recommend it. It's period, and some people don't like period shows. I quite like period shows. Let's talk about what about next. Yeah, let's do something different. So next, there's a television series that came out on BBC think it's a HBO show, so I'm not quite sure in the States how you might get it, maybe in HBO Max or something. I'm just going to put it in here. And that's a series called Love Life. There's 2 series of Love Life. It's been cancelled now, so there won't be a third. But Love Life is a TV series. The first series starred Anna Kendrick. And Anna Kendrick played a character whose name I can't remember. And basically every episode is sort of like half an hour each episode. Every episode is sort of the story of her with a different partner that she had, whether that was a boyfriend or an encounter or someone that she really fancied or whatever. And it's really beautiful because, you know, there's sort of these half an hour episodes, so it's kind of got that sort of comedy short form drama feel, and each episode is kind of like its own self-contained story. But then, you know, when you get several episodes in, I can't remember how many episodes there are per 8 episodes. Oh no, is that wrong? Yeah, that's wrong. I don't know how many episodes there are. But when you get so many episodes into the series, you really feel the sort of the weight and the sort of breadth of like a human experience and all the different people they've been with, and the feelings of joy and sadness and grief for what was. You know, you really sort of get a sense of a person, which means that when she meets people later on in the series, you're aware of all the baggage that she has when she meets them, and all of the various feelings associated with that. It's just really beautiful. And the second series is very good as well. It stars William Jackson Harper, who's an actor who he's in The Good Place, which is a series I hate. I hate The Good Place. I know a lot of people really like it. I'm sure some of you really like it, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But it doesn't do it for me. I find it repetitive and aimless. But he's in that, and that's the only other thing I'd ever seen him in. And then I saw him in Love Life Series 2, which is a similar thing. It's the same sort of concept, but it's a character that he plays in the same universe as the character that Anna Kendrick plays. They're sort of somehow loosely connected with each other. And the second series is really good as well. It sort of does a slightly different thing. The sort of like arc of it and what it's exploring is slightly different, and it involves the pandemic and stuff like that. It's more current, I'd say. And the first series came out in 2020, and the second series came out in 2021. But yeah, the second series has some really, really interesting stuff in that. Like some scenes that are like, wow, are really powerful. And he's really good in it. He's really good. He really impressed me. Really showed his like scope as an actor. Yeah. Sorry, I got a bit interrupted there. So, where was I? Yeah, series 2. William Jackson Harper. Nice name. Yeah, he's really good. Really good. Really impressed me, actually. Such a cool part to play, and really interesting, and some really powerful scenes that explore there's so much. I don't want to give anything away in these series, but it's really good. It's really good, and it's different to the first series. You sort of feel like once you've seen it kind of thing. It's going to be like same shtick, different character, but they really change it up actually in the second series, and it's viewed from a very different perspective. And there's a lot of different threads of stuff in there, lots of different themes. It's not just like love, it's like there's stuff that's political in there, there's stuff that's emotional and funny, and yeah, really good series. I recommend that. I'm not sure if both series are available, but I'm pretty sure the first series is available on Netflix, but they're HBO shows, so I'm not sure whether you can get them in the States. But in the UK, you can definitely get it here on BBC iPlayer. Ooh, next, what should we talk about? Let's talk about... Ooh. Okay, now here's a television show. This one is back from 2013. And it's one of the first... I watched it. Yes, I'd have been sort of 17, 18 at the time. And... this TV show is called Utopia. And it came out on Channel 4 here in the UK. And here's the poster. This sort of sums up how wacky this show is. Bold, right? Bold, and the whole show has this kind of really like zany colour palette to it. The colours are so vibrant, in a disarming way. They've really bold choice with the colour grading and stuff. And this is a TV show that was meant to be remade for an American audience and then wasn't by Netflix, and then I think Amazon bought it or something, and it's been remade recently. And I haven't watched it, but I've seen some trailers and some clips, and the remake looks awful. It looks like it's completely destroyed everything that was good about the original. The original was fantastic. It sort of became like this cult show. It's got a really kind of like zany premise, which is that there are these group of people online who are really into these comics, and they sort of they meet up in real life and they find this comic that's like a lost comic or a hidden comic, and they get hunted down by this group called the Network. And so it's very ominous, and it's kind of got that sci-fi thriller kind of thing to it, and but the themes of it are massive. It's written by a guy called Dennis Kelly, who's a playwright here in the UK. He does a lot of new writing, and a lot of his writing is quite like, a lot of it can be quite savage, quite brutal. And the TV show is quite brutal in parts. It's it's full on, but the themes of it are huge, like big political current themes. And the cast is great. Oh, it's so hard to like not give away too much about a TV show when you know so much about it, and you don't want to sort of ruin the plot. But it's great if you want to watch sort of a thriller. That sort of cult show. It had 2 series and then it got cancelled, but the 2 series is enough. You could have more, and that would have been nice, but yeah, really cool. And because now it's 2013 as well, it probably feels like a retro show when you watch it as well. The sort of the quality of the filming and the style of filmmaking probably feels a bit weird to us now, in a way. But yeah, definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch. If you want something that's a bit thrillery. Okay, yeah, so now there's another BBC series. You're seeing a theme here. A lot of my series are British-based. And this series is called Trigonometry. And it came out in 2020. 8 episodes. Written by another playwright here in the UK called Duncan Macmillan. This is a really cool sort of light-hearted half-an-hour drama series with 8 episodes. And here's a poster. Oh, aren't they all so beautiful? Yeah, really nice cast. And it's basically about a relationship that develops between 3 people. There's 2 people who are together, and there's a third person who is going to lodge with them, and then they sort of develop a sort of symbiotic relationship between the 3 of them. And it's sort of about how they find balance in their lives and are able to, it's obviously about the challenges of that, but also about, the stresses they had when they were a twosome and a onesome, and how working as a threesome together, both sort of romantically, but also just in terms of as life partners, as people who are helping each other and in each other's day-to-day lives, how that sort of works and why it works and things. It's really interesting. A really nice sort of light-hearted show set in London, modern day. Really interesting. A very empathetic and sensitive sort of portrayal of how sort of a relationship that's not just with two people might work. Yeah, quite a modern look at love and relationships. Very good, very good. Oh, here's another one. There's a show that came out again on the BBC. I love the BBC, man. This is a TV series called The Village. This isn't like the official poster, but here's an image from it. You might be able to see there that we have John Sim and Maxine Peake, who some of you may know, two fantastic actors. Now, The Village is a really interesting series, really interesting concept. I think they only made 2 series of it. It came out in 2013, 2014. And the whole idea is that it looks at the life of people in a village in Derbyshire through the eyes of a child. And the idea of the show was that they would work their way through the entire 20th century looking at life in this village. So it starts off in the sort of early 1900s with some like really awful famine and like really, it's quite a dark show in many ways. The quality of life of the people in this village is tough. It's very tough. And then in the second series, the child's grown up a bit, so now he's a teenager. And so it's looking at, the events of the world, but through the eyes of this child in this village. And the idea was that it would carry on and go through his whole life, and you'd see how things change. But it got cancelled after 2 series, which is a shame. But even so, the 2 series are very, very good. John Sim plays this sort of alcoholic father, and Maxine Peake is the mother. And yeah, it looks at things like World War One and famine, and it's a farming village, so it's a lot about the reliance on the land, and if the crops don't grow and they don't get a good harvest, and they aren't able to. I think they have cattle. I can't remember, but if they're so reliant on things to survive, But it looks at there's so much. For some reason, what I always remember is the public baths. There's a whole bit storyline with public baths and the female public baths, and it's a lot about community and that part of the country. Really good. Made by a guy called Peter Moffat, who I think is quite an interesting guy as a creator. Big vision stuff. Really good. Actually, I've just thought of one more TV show that I've got to mention. And I can't believe I didn't think of this before, because this is one of my favourite things I've ever watched, and anyone who has watched it has been really amazed by it. And that is a series called We Are Who We Are. What a television series. I watched it on the BBC back in 2020, I think. But I think it was made by HBO, maybe Sky Atlantic as well. Yes, HBO Sky Atlantic. Came out in 2020. It's a coming-of-age story set on a fictional US military base in Italy. I actually have a friend who is from the sort of town that's by this area in Italy where there is an American military base. It's really interesting hearing them talk about it. But the TV show is fantastic. It looks at these Americans and the fact these American military families who live on this base, the adults and the children, and their different types of family setup, their different relationships. You have a lesbian couple who have a child, 14-year-old kid that they've... I can't remember if he's adopted or if he's biologically one of theirs. I can't remember, but yeah, it looks at them, they move to this military base. But there's other families there, and it's sort of like a microcosm of America. You've got sort of the Trump supporters, there, more right-wing families, more left-wing liberal families, but it's America, but in Italy, and it looks at identity, it looks at sexuality, it looks at gender, it looks at relationships, it looks at politics. Oh, and it's directed by, gosh, I can never say his name, Luca Guadagnino. Oh, you know, the guy. Luca... this guy. Luca Guadagnino. He directed Call Me By Your Name, and it sort of has some similarity with that in a way, I guess. And wow, it's huge. It's one of those things where it's a TV series, but it surpasses what you expect of a TV series. It's massive. And the score, the music, it's got all this music by Philip Glass and all this sort of really big orchestral work in there, and that just sort of makes the emotions soar and just really rise up. There's this beautiful bit where there's this young man and he's praying at night on the floor, and the camera sort of just like comes up from him and it goes up into the sky, and there's this beautiful music going on. Yeah, it's a really powerful television series. I think of all the things I've mentioned, that's probably one I recommend most. I suppose depending on how you look at the world, you might like it or not like it. Depends on your sort of beliefs, I guess, and your political beliefs. But I think it's great and a really interesting exploration of identity and America and youth. Yeah, and it shows quite complex characters with really flawed characters and with difficult relationships with each other. But it's really good. I recommend watching it. Yeah, so I hope that's interesting. I sort of vaguely hope, in a way, that I've mentioned something that you might not have heard of before, and that you might fancy giving a watch. And hopefully you enjoy it. I know that a lot of people do videos like this, and a lot of things people recommend are different kind of shows to the ones I've recommended. More like, my favourite shows on Netflix or whatever. So I try to stay clear of that. Do something a little bit different. But yeah, let me know if you've watched any of the things that I've mentioned. Let me know if you have decided to watch anything, and let me know what you think of them, and let me know what your favourite television shows are. Maybe the ones that are a bit more off the beaten track. I'd be interested to know if you have any recommendations. Yeah, and I'm going to link my social media into the description, So if you'd like to give me a follow over there, then please do. Okay, that's enough for today. I'll see you next time. Bye.